Alrighty, welcome back to JL Percussion. Today we're going to be working on a guide for the 4-mallet etude for this year. For the mallets, I went with IP 200s on my left hand, which is a medium soft mallet, and I went with IP 240s in the right hand, which is a medium mallet. Okay. Very important thing to note on this etude is there was an errata that came out after the initial errata. Okay, so be mindful to check the list on the website, and it's the notes in measure 45 that changed instead of 61. Where in measure 45, beat 3 should be an A, and I'll touch on that when we get there. But measure 45, beat 3 should be an A instead of a B flat. And whereas the old errata before this update, it was in measure 61 that had to change. It changed that A on beat 3 to a B flat. So now that has since been reverted. Measure 61 is as written, as published, and in measure 45, it's an A natural on beat 3 instead of a B flat. The reason for that is that the arranger of this etude, Rebecca Kite, reached out to Mr. Bobby Lopez and issued a correction from when her book was first published. This piece is not that difficult to learn, so sounding great is going to be a key factor in separating you from the pack in the audition room, right? So always be thinking about your sound. Tempo for this etude is 132 to 142. For the sake of this video, we'll be going 132. And that's the tempo that I did the performance video in as well. Okay, so let's jump right in to the very beginning. I have particular stickings for the right hand. Okay, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3 for the melody. Okay, and we are in forte, so we need to establish our forte melody. But make sure that the melody and the accompaniment are meeting their proper roles, all right? And what I mean by that is, if everything is the exact same volume, okay, you're gonna not be able to distinguish what's the accompaniment and what's the melody. So for example, this first phrase here, okay, we gotta make sure that the right hand is sticking out, quote unquote, slightly because it's the melody. Okay, and what's going to help us with that is that our left hand has a softer mallet than our right. So even if we're playing at the same height, that's going to help us out. Another big thing for this etude is inadvertent flams. Okay, anytime we have notes that are supposed to sound exactly together, and one of them is not, it's going to be tricky for us. So what we've got to do is make sure that we're practicing not just this etude, but even a fundamentals, just a block chord, or you can get on fifths and just work on playing your double verticals together. One hand at a time. Try to eliminate any flams and then work on your inside mallets and your outside mallets and combinations of the two. Here's 1 and 3. So take note of the mallet placement and what I have to do to get it for these accompaniment notes. Okay, I have to turn, lean and turn to get to this B flat right on the edge with my 1, and then that sets me up to play the C right above the resonator, okay, for the top of the resonator to get the best sound, okay? If you stay square and try to go up and get to the edge, you're going to be playing really close to the note up here. So it's good to turn out and lean, okay? I'll push my elbow out a little bit. My wrist keeps a neutral angle here as I'm playing this, okay? And I'm leaned away so I can meet that, okay? And I come back to square to the board and my elbows back when I come back out of that. Okay, these motions right here, it's going to be all about rolling of the thumb. Okay, good thing to practice is playing a certain interval. Let's start with thirds since we start thirds here. Okay, and you want to combine the motion of moving over to get to the next note with your one, but then also rolling to stay on the C. So it's a little bit interesting because as we're moving our hand away from this note to this note, we're rolling our thumb to maintain the C in the 2 mallet. And then when we get to the F, same deal. Get to the E, same deal. We're moving away with our forearm, but stretching out or rolling out with our thumb and first finger. Okay, so you could, if you want, separate those into 2 different exercises. You could just work on this, okay, and then work on this, and then roll, and then hit, or move and then roll, move and then roll, and then combine the 2. Okay, important techniques to be aware of in this etude. Okay, let's go through the phrase again. Mezzo forte, crescendo, and a decrescendo, right? And take note of the stickings there for that decrescendo, crescendo, decrescendo. So I have 4, 3, 4, 4, 4 for the melody, right? And that's just going to be most efficient. And we're decrescendoing. That would be the same sticking you do when you get to measure 25. Same sticking, it's just a crescendo instead. Okay? So be careful with those. Always be looking at your playing zones. Okay, I'm aiming for the edges. And of course, my off center for the natural notes. Okay, and then really accentuate the crescendo and decrescendo. Alright, next section, measure 10. Okay, we have our double stops now in our right hand. And now that same motion of rolling to keep on one note, this time we're moving our hand in A to G to E while maintaining our 3 mallet on C. And the left hand is just F, E, C. And then do that all with the 1. Okay, just to not to move around so much. Right? Now this part right here, we gotta be really careful with this rhythm. 1, a 2. 1 E and a 2, right? We got the med on. Put on 60 notes. 1 E and a 2. The tendency for a lot of us can be to play it as triplets. We can do. I've heard this in the audition room already for region orchestra. Okay, so when you get there, 60 note subdivision. Okay, so up your grip just a little bit so that those quick 60 notes can speak. Alright? So be mindful of that. And both the times that you hit these figures, we are in the mezzo forte dynamic. So. Try to make sure that everything is a quick full stroke. That way I have time to look at where I'm going next and quickly adjust my intervals. Okay? So in that section, that's both mezzo forte. It's pretty identical, each of the phrases, except the resolution changes there at measure 17 into 18. Right? We have this again. And then again. And then what's different is those two chords right there. And that's it. Everything else should be taken care of. Then you go back, pickups to measure 19. It's everything from measure 1 through 9. Okay, the only difference is that the swell that we had in measure 8 is now a full-on crescendo to forte. So we got this again. That's forte. Crescendo. Okay, and that brings us into the soft section, which is pickups to measure 28. Okay, and we piano. Okay, it's the first time piano shows up, so make sure it's really soft. Okay, take a note of my stickings here. 4, 3, 3. Okay, and then I do all 4. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, and then the next chord. You got your A7. 4, 3, 3, and then 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Once again. And the reason I went with 4s on that passage is because of the first bar. I'm ending here on 3. It's a bigger jump to get to the B flat with the 3 mallet than to get to it with the 4. So I just roll with that concept. Okay, and then when we do these crescendos, don't get so loud. And just keep it all continuous. We don't want one crescendo here and then another one here. It should grow at the same rate. Match it. Decrescendo here, match it. You gotta meet the start of the bars where they left off. Okay? Take a look at the next part, measure 32, and my stickings here. And again, I'm going for the edges. We got a crescendo. We hold here, hold the dynamic. Decrescendo. Okay. Soften, build, land, decrescendo. Alright? And then we do the same thing again. And then at this measure is where we change. And do all 4 here. And we're decrescendoing as well. Okay? So repetitive section, and again, the resolution of the end is what changes. Something that's prominent in this etude. Okay, then we get to measure 44, 45. We're bringing back stuff from the beginning. Okay, that melody, but now our left hand, instead of doing double stops and chords, now we're doing filler 8th notes. Okay, now like I mentioned at the start of the video, in measure 45, 45 B3. It is not a B flat. It is an A. So the old part was this. But the new part is this. Okay, and that is going to match measure 61. All right. So we got these moving eighth notes. Singing above all of this left-hand stuff helps that we have our softer mallet, but we should still play with a full sound. Now, once again, we worked on earlier in the etude this motion, right? Moving our hand over while rotating the thumb so that we widen our interval. Now we have to do that single alternating strokes. Okay? And what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that this 2 mallet stays over the C. And it's the same concept. You're rolling out to get ready for the next note. And actually you can be rolling while you play. Right? As soon as you strike that C, roll, roll, roll. And then for this octave C, on the lower octave, I don't try to roll it all the way out. That's a big, I mean, it's an octave, and you're doing these single alternating strokes. What I recommend instead to make it maybe a little bit easier on some of you is to push out. Push, and then come back. Okay? So if we do it in context. Okay? And that push out motion is going to happen twice. Right there. And right there. Just for the C. Piano. Okay, and I have some interesting stickings there. So that goes with my usual approach. 4, 3, 3, right? 3, 3, 3. Okay, so I have 3 here. 3, 3, 4, 4, and then 4. So here's where it gets interesting. I'm doing 4 on the last note, okay, the last quarter note, and then I'm playing this C, which is the accompaniment, but I'm playing it with my right hand now, and that's to facilitate this, because I didn't want to go moving from here to here to here. Instead I can just go, and my mallet's already in place. So just make sure you play this note a little bit softer to match the accompaniment. So mezzo piano here. Just bring out the melody. Okay. And then we jump into something familiar, right? Okay, before we had this, now we're doing the split 8 notes. So same concept. Okay, we're moving in with our 8th note and we're rolling our thumb in to make the interval smaller. and beat 3 of 58. I'm playing them both on my right hand. Okay, we've been doing the right hand, taking that accompaniment note. So we could do it again, right? Or if you'd like, you can have the left hand play it. Okay, but you have to move out of the way and then jump to, which you can totally do if you want. In fact, that might be a great way to play it to maintain your accompaniment versus melody note distinction with your softer mallet and your harder mallet. But totally up to you. When I did my video, I found it comfortable to just do the double stop with the right hand. Okay. And then as always, make sure you're not doing flams. Try your best to eliminate any of those. A thing to note for this passage is that I kind of broke the rule of left hand gets the accompaniment. You could be doing this. Right? But then you have to deal with this jump. Right? Pushing out. Right? But I found this to be more comfortable, and then the left hand is just worrying about hitting this accurately, just like before. And just like before, in the previous part, the C is still being covered by the right hand. So it made the most sense to me to keep it this way. And then we're coming back at measure 61 to the melody. Alright? From the beginning with the inserted eighth notes. Same approach. Now the next section, pick up to 65, is now still at forte. We do not drop down to mezzo piano. But here we start a retard. Now you don't have to slow it down immediately that fast. But I was just showing you where it starts. And we end with a ripple. Okay, and it's just one time, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just make sure it sounds nice and appropriate, connected to your retard. Okay, now for this ripple, I wouldn't go super slow. Okay, but I wouldn't go super fast either. Somewhere in between. Okay, as long as it sounds nice, we'll be okay. Alrighty, and that's it for the 4-mallet etude for this year. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll address it as best as I can. If you have a tip that I didn't share, please feel free to share it with everyone else and see what works for you. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to stay tuned for upcoming guides and videos.